In this life, I came to learn. May whoever finds this book receive the grace imparted through me, to inspire yourself to become accountable for finding your life worth living, and in doing so, participate in the reality of the world you want to create. This book is for all people who wish to follow the path of self-choice. It is a collection of principles that were revealed to me by wanting to get the most out of life. Out of 3 themes, the first teaches about ideas that help form the foundation of making choices. It is followed by a discourse on the rules of change, which is an elaboration on how to view oneself amidst changing scenarios. This acts as a guidepost to understand why some ideas are of the highest values. It is concluded by the final theme, which is a distillation of the things I learned. I was very lucky to see significant life lessons in every activity that I love. This book should be read slowly and applied as a whole, with my suggestion of reading it at least 8 times while experimenting with its contents. Over the first 3 readings, there are many questions that will come up to challenge what you are learning. This is normal, and you might find that sometimes the answer to your question is in the very next line. It is all too easy to misinterpret, skip, or misunderstand, but the way it is laid out is intentional. This book contains ideas that you can learn from. It is a representation of my life and my experiences. Learn to find the similarities in your life when reading. And if you take a step back far enough, you will see the big picture. With all that I am, Mara. Oh, but you have many breaths, so you fancy. The illusion of time surrounds you, even as death coils like a slow garrote. Probabilities collapse and quicken until inevitability crushes you. Unawareness is intoxicating. Written by the unnamed. Book 1. Choice is a simple thing. What becomes complicated is getting lost in mirrors we call belief. For some cases, what we believe is based on what we have been taught. This can lead to patterns which tangles itself, traveling in downward spirals, suffocating us the more invested we become. Then there are beliefs that come from a knowing inside. It can be through coming to terms with emotions, an instinctive knowing, or a physical sensation. The difference with this belief is that it comes from experiential value. You feel something about a concept first, before determining what it is worth to you. It is a belief that is born of you. Let us look at belief, a complicated situation, and simplify. The basics of choice are experience and awareness. We begin to make choices that lead us to desirable results when we gain awareness of where decisions lead us to. By making choices, we gain experience and learn to identify how these choices affect our lives. The first step is to learn the foundation of developing awareness. The basic principles of the Northern Palaces, a school of life. Priority. What is the most important thing that keeps us alive? Going off the theme of basics, we can list the most common basic needs of any living being. That is light, food, water, and air. Light is the basis of change within the planet. Driven by the radiance of the sun, all living things on Earth move forward from a petrified state into a state of transformation. Without food, we can continue living for close to a month, and maybe in some cases even longer. Without water, we may survive for a day or two, but in difficult circumstances. However, without air, we cannot expect to live that long at all. This represents how the quality of your breathing is directly affected by your perception of life. Conversely, the way you breathe can affect the perception of your life. In difficult situations, regaining your breathing can be the difference between impulse and the choice that leads to the best outcome. Role. Imagine that you are a traveler and you come across a person who is in dire straits in your path. What would you decide to do? Life can be full of seemingly inescapable pressures. These pressures often invoke us to act in a certain way to meet conditions. Not all conditions may hold restriction over us, but inevitably, they shape the way we perceive experiences. When coming upon any encounter, it is important to be selective and qualitative in the things we choose to commit energy towards. In the scenario provided, it is possible that the person you see during travel is a source of illusion, a character that brings you further into a path of suffering. The scenario applies within the daily dealings of life. Depending on the relationships you form and nourish, you will either thrive or wither. Always consider, is the test or tribulation yours to experience, or is it yours to learn from? Vigilance is a skill that is worth practicing, since we are accountable for our own actions. Eagerness often leads to missteps, where mindfulness pays in multiples. Responsibility. You are given a magical potion that has the ability to solve any one problem, but only for one person. However, the person you love most comes to you, needing help, and only your potion can solve it. What do you do? The question imposes a perspective on fate and responsibility. In this scenario, a potion was given to you. This potion could be life. Believe it or not, life is given to us. It is not for us to decide to give it away. There is a gentle and sentient energy that pulls all things into motion, which lead us to alignments of magnificent quality. The human experience of life is a great gift that was given to you, rightfully so. This life I came to learn. Book 2. A discourse on the 3 roles of change. The only thing that endures is change. 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐿. The world moves through exchange. Within every being, there are providers and receivers. In some cases, there is imbalance. To return to harmony, learn from the gift of change. The flow of karma. I cast my worry unto thee. A single petal I left to see. May moonlight guide your way through the currents and torrent of rain and waves. I've turned my sails towards the star. No certain moments, no shortened scars. We'll circle once and move towards. We'll circle often and move apart. The single petal I left to see, apart from worry, a part of me. Change consists of time and space. The time to observe something occur, and the space to perceive this observation. Through change, we are given the opportunity to experience something different all the time. In difficult situations, these opportunities to feel different can seem rare. So it is easier to be grateful to have the opportunity. Constantly, we either change towards new things or change in order to maintain them. In my experience, there are several roles in play when it comes to working with Qi, life force, the mind, and the healing process, which appear in all scenarios. The knowledge, the student, and the teacher. All events and encounters consist of the above. Knowing these and their individual qualities will determine the quality of connection that will arise from any event. The knowledge. Knowledge born from within is something that can be tested against time. Idea that is based on experience It outlasts and outshines all ruminations of the mind. This enables its ability to shatter illusions. Through repeated tests against one's current understanding, wherein the knowledge should fail, only then, through its undeniability, does it prove its truth. It is because it is so undeniable that it shatters belief before it, proving its quality of truth. All things born of the mind, both conscious and subconscious, are illusions for the purpose of restoring energy. The conscious mind has the ability to perceive experience that is tangible. This enables it to perceive the recorded memory of events, allowing it to determine itself in motion. The subconscious mind is a realm where true perception exists but is intangible to the logical mind. Due to its unreasonable nature, the subconscious has the ability to create realities that can have direct reflections on the conscious awareness. Observation is the active state of alertness and detachment. Knowledge in its true form is a collection of observations. Because of the nature of probability, knowledge that cannot be denied can be observed as truth. The student. In the special case of healing, the student is not the one to receive healing, but the one giving it. The student is the creator of new concepts. Through its processes, it learns about methods and routes and assessments. The student is responsible for the nurturing, learning, and discipline of the idea. For an idea to mature, it must be taken apart from the inside out, many times. Only the things that remain are perceived to be of value. In this process, the student learns about connection, about process, and about their role. The healing process is an innately passive event. All sentient beings have within them the formula to have equilibrium. That is, the energy which creates life is more complicated and smarter than the mind can ever be. The initial and primary role of any healer should be to understand restriction in several levels, so that the body can return to its optimal state. The mind is the construct which was created for energy restoration, and the body is the physical entity where this energy is stored, exchanged, and processed. In the presentation of knowledge, ethics and morality come above all else. It is understood that to present an idea means to do so with the safety of the other and the consideration of their vulnerability. A responsible student very carefully presents only that which has been thoroughly explored to its depths, valuing to heart the understanding of cause and effect. The teacher. The teacher is the ever-evolving encounter. Although the faces and places change, it is the same energy that brings all events into fruition. This is because it is of essence that ideas and observations undergo a process of repeated encounters under different circumstances as a means of embodiment. To understand that the movement which causes this is inseparable is the same as understanding the reason why the encounter is there. In each circumstance, the diamond of truth can potentially be chiseled, allowing light to pass through in a new form, without having to try. If something is observed with awareness and intent, it is bound to be understood. This is how an idea is grasped, which evades the restriction of time and space itself. What arises is the very fabric of its composition. This is why intent can arouse manifestations that far surpass imagination. In this life, I came to learn. Book 3. In this life, I came to learn. The child. Visual art taught me the value of perspective, to see something from another point of view, to form the same shapes with different materials, different shapes from the same materials. One subject seen from a different angle evokes great influence. It taught me cadence and contrast, to understand the way they move, not only in the piece of art, but more importantly in nature. Skateboarding taught me that getting up is a choice. It taught me how to fall and how to succeed. It taught me that I could move my body according to my mind, and only that was the limitation. That it is possible to ride off walls, leap great distances, balance like a tightrope, and take impact from high places, while physically expressing individual artistic finesse or raw athleticism. A nuance of balance that turns what is solid into liquid, using the power of circles. I learned the meaning of repetition and reaped the benefits of mastery. That momentum is maintained by being at ease, and that no amount of preparation and practice can replace full-hearted commitment. Language arts taught me that we are beings of expression, and with this I saw its limitations. Communication was not intended to quantify our experiences, but to elaborate on its quality, to bear witness to the events that life brings about. In its limitations, it becomes visible how to push beyond them, to turn what seemed like walls into guiding paths, and to encompass a great return of thought, recreating vivid prints of memory to last through the ages. Musical art taught me the value of rest. The silence between notes gives birth to melodies. It is the void between chasms that create such overwhelming passages. The sudden stop of an orchestra in crescendo leaves us breathless. Nature is in a constant state of rest. All things happen because of the lack of things being done. The Rebel. Culinary arts taught me composure. In a position of giving, one must be selfless, pressurized into crude ore, tempered by fire and patience, then polished by persistence. A shimmering essence is born, tolerant to all encounters. Hospitality taught me that everything is about flow. How long one element is in contact with another directly affects the outcome. A recipe, service, or event. Resistance can only exist when you want it to be there. All things are the constant forces of coming together and moving apart. Knowing how to move through this is what is viewed as effortlessness. Cooking taught me the value of grace. To understand the nature of food yields a consistently inspiring dish. Each part of a single dish can be intentionally prepared. This shows that no detail can be overlooked. All parts make up the whole. The Road. Tennis taught me the best time for a comeback is when you are about to lose. That if I could stand my ground, I could regain the advantage. Persistence and faith in the hundreds of hours invested into a single skill has taken me far beyond my limits. It reminded me that it is always you who decides if you give up or try to win. Sometimes you don't earn a win, but you leave nothing behind. Martial art taught me compassion. What enemy do I have if I have no enemy? What harm can you cause when harm has no effect? What is the point in you and I when you and I breathe the same source of life to stay alive? The techniques for striking and defense are empty. No reason for harm is valid. The way of the gentle fist taught me the relaxed state of alertness. In attempting to relax through repetition, I experienced its nature. In relaxation, I feel less anxious, without or with little fear. This is what it means when it is said that difficult and easy follow one another. The gentle fist approaches confrontation with an open palm, ready to receive and guide all things in conflict towards balance. The way of the sword taught me the refinement of eloquence. To a skilled practitioner, each stroke of a blade amounts to a life. when every choice determines irreversible outcomes, one must remain composed, having taken up the mantle of life. Internal art, the study of cultivating energy, taught me humility. The gifts I have are not mine, and I behold it for who can recognize it. The stronger the power, the less that I am. The less that I am, the greater the clarity. Why view an event from a single vessel, like peering through a mason jar and looking across the ocean? The observer. The art of multimedia taught me a secret of the universe. Ideas spread out into concepts to the outreach of production. From there, it returns into storyboards, more concepts, and if lucky, a direction. Then technicality happens. Files become corrupt. It's back to just ideas, but with less time. How to get the same quality? How to get better? The concepts become produced just to be lost again. Now, every useless process has been let go. The sequences of how to mold the idea becomes memorized, actualized. From that point on, the idea becomes instant creation, and the final product becomes something far beyond what could have been imagined. Meditation taught me the true nature of reality. There is no beginning, there is no end. A darkness within darkness. The center of the universe that once entered only reveals the starting point of the journey. It is not a metaphor, but a realistic observation of the extensive exploration of the mind. All variations of infinite events throughout all of time come from a single event that is relived over and over again under different dressings, costumes, and stages. Time is not a line or a loop or a thread, but a picture. A single picture in which most see only the tiniest of particles that can be observed at a moment. Like all other things, in order to go beyond existence, one must cease to exist. Healing arts taught me the joy of sharing. At the worst of my days, when I had nothing left to give, it takes just one look from a patient's eyes that shows their gratitude, as if mercy herself descended upon them. And in an instant, all sorrow and burden is lifted. Selflessness is a great thing. When it can be about someone else, I can enjoy their experience without having to live it myself. Tai Chi taught me the relationship between all things. Not one part can exist without the other. Ease is born of difficulty. Peace is born of contemplation. This applies externally, internally, physically, mentally, spiritually. That observation is the natural state of being. Human interaction taught me the value of hope. Each individual longs for the same thing: to be understood, to be remembered. In the illusion of mortality, something we once saw as despair came its exact opposite reaction. Despite the hardship of density, the experience of spirit becoming petrified, strength and courage penetrated all other limits. In our desperate need to enlighten a darkened world, we ourselves became light within it. More accurately, return to light. In a universe of certain chaos, there is nothing quite as delightful to see as the event of probability. For this is the spark that is heard from the dark outstretch of this universe, all the way to its origin. A thought's aggregate exists because of an illusion. An illusion occurs because of misunderstanding. To pacify the manifest, understand the illusion so that the aggregate has no substance. Our thoughts are a result of the perspective that we have on our reality is the biggest misconception that we practice. The truth, our reality, is a direct result of the perspective we have on our thoughts. Because everything is changing constantly, only thoughts that have energy applied to it can remain. The quality of that energy transforms how the spirit receives the thought. There will be those who clamor about the suffering of the world, and this is true. The suffering should not exist, but it does exist, because there lay another side of suffering, which is the attachment to consistency. In nature, things come and go as needed when all things are in balance. It is impossible for nature to be secure. The insecurity of its chaos is what prevents this reality from remaining as a petrified state of being. It is because of destruction that things become created, and so all things created must be destroyed. Only that which is understood can last forever. The Wanderer. Predestiny is all about choice. In my journeys to the spirit world, I was guided to the path of stars. Celestial beings invited me to their homes and taught me the value of wonder. Their names are clarity, expansion, responsibility, spontaneity, resilience, and delight. Let it be known, tangible is not limited to material. Infinite realms exist seamlessly within each other, creating a finite form. Birthplace of dreams, whispers of heaven, where law is imagination and intent, realms where fire flows without rage, gently nourishing the stream of ideas, like a wisp of willow swaying leaves, petals made of embers. Birthplace of serenity, consciousness of light, where law is compassion and understanding, a state of existence only for love, only for all. Courage and patience adorn majestic garbs, as abundant as it is precise. Forgiveness is the water which fills its mountains and lakes. Birthplace of flaws, bear witness to the anointed ones, beings who carry darkness and light by hand, guided by heavens, a path to behold, the walker untold. Gratitude is the blessing and the way to harmony, a foundation of balance. Birthplace of miracles, weaver of fate and chance, where law is continuity of the mind, healer of fortune and probability, escort to the return of the state of stillness. Connection is the pathway to the divine. Secrets of the northern palaces. I am. Each moment I am renewed. Among the patterns of change I awaken. The breath I draw is subtle, soft, and received. My intention lies beneath my feet, never further than my shadow. Each moment I am renewed, forged by the actions of my past. The depth of mind, like bellows passing breeze. My attention strides beneath my seat, ever ardor ceaselessly. Beyond this, beyond that, there is the consciousness of a seed, no longer the same by the time the flower blooms. On the darkest day I lived like it was my last, and with it foregoed my pettiness, my failures, and my pride. Fulfilled without regret, I lived my breath to be the last. As a guide, a friend, a healer, a son, until the wheel turns over once more, I return to the light where I came, until people again need a reminder of the promise. In this life, I came to learn. No one is left behind.
Recuerdo tus canciones, no tenías que mentir. Tus sueños eran sueños, caminar era tu fin. El miedo no era excusa, carcajadas al reír.